good morning to you. Welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
The headlines for you at 6 o'clock on this Monday morning. 7 mass coronavirus vaccination centres capable of injecting thousands of people a week open across England this morning.
We're live at one of them. This is Epsom Racecourse in Surrey.
With hopes pinned on the vaccines, as hospital admissions continue to rise, England's Chief Medical Officer, that's Professor Chris Whitty, will be here at 7:30 to answer your questions.
Senior Democrats in the US set out their plans to remove President Trump from office or have him impeached.
Remembering the so-called forgotten, Good Morning reports there could be financial help on its way for some of the millions left out of the government support schemes. I'll take a look.
The FA Cup upsets just keep on coming. Crawley Town playing the game of their lives to knock out Premier League side Leeds and reach the fourth round.
Good morning. It's a milder day for most of us today, but fairly cloudy and blustery, with some rain in the north and west falling as snow in the Highlands and Grampians. I'll have more details in about 10 minutes.
Good morning, it's Monday, it's the 11th of January. The top story for you this morning is that 7 mass vaccination centres are opening across England this morning as the government increases its effort to protect 15 million of the most vulnerable people by the middle of next month.
NHS England says these new sites mean thousands of jabs will be delivered every week, as our health correspondent Jim Reid reports.
From today, this will become one of the largest vaccination sites in the country. Ashton Gate Stadium in Bristol has been converted into a huge vaccination centre. The South Concourse will be open 12 hours a day, delivering thousands of doses a week if there is enough supply to go around. It's one of 7 mass vaccination centres being opened in England, from Surrey to Manchester, with more planned in the coming months.
OK, here we are.
Off you go. To start with, locals over 80 years old, plus health and social care staff, will be contacted and asked to book an appointment.
We do need to be vaccinating hundreds of thousands of people a day if we're going to get a grip of this pandemic within this country and across the world. So it's not just a matter of 1,000 people coming to the GP practice, it's about hundreds of thousands of people.
More GP and hospital sites will also open this week as the government tries to hit its target of reaching 15 million of the most vulnerable by mid-February. That after what critics say has been a slow start to the vaccine rollout in places.
You might end up with a wee bit of a bruise. Hey!
In Scotland, more clinics should also start to receive the Oxford AstraZeneca jab this week. And the Welsh Government is due to publish its new vaccination plan this afternoon. It comes as the pressure on the NHS shows no sign of letting up. A record 32,000 COVID patients are in hospital in the UK, a figure that has doubled in 6 weeks. The most senior nurse in England posted this video online after finishing her shift at the weekend.
These are tough times. Please follow the rules. These nurses and their colleagues are working so hard. And thank you to each and every one of them.
It's hoped the vaccine rollout can start to relieve some of that pressure. But with infections still rising sharply, NHS staff are still likely to have months of tough work ahead of them. Jim Reid, BBC News.
Well, Andy Moore is outside Epsom Racecourse in Surrey, which is one of those new mass vaccination sites. Andy, good morning to you. It's, I would imagine, a very busy day ahead.
Certainly it will be a busy day here. Vaccinations due to start in about 2 hours' time here. And if you can just see through into one of the stands, you can see the vaccinations ready to go there. You can see an area where people will sit out for about 15 minutes afterwards, just so somebody can keep an eye on them in case there's an adverse reaction. The whole process, we're told, will last less than an hour. So how are we getting on with the vaccination programme across the country? Well, the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, says 2 million people have already been vaccinated. About a third of the over 80s. We're vaccinating, we're told, about 200,000 a day in England alone. Now, to get 15 million people in those high-risk categories vaccinated by the middle of February, we've got to raise that to something like 400,000, which is why these big centres are needed. So they will be taking in people from about up to 45 minutes away. 130,000 invitations have already been sent out, 500,000 more to come in the coming week. Now, some people, elderly people over 80, may not wish to travel that far. It's quite a distance. They may not wish to come to a centre that would be quite busy with lots of other people. Remember, these are people who have been shielding, and they're being told that they don't have to come to these places. They can wait and go to their local GP or to their local hospital. The advice, don't turn up here on spec and wait to be invited by your GP. The advice is don't contact us, we'll contact you.
OK, Andy, thank you very much. We'll be there back in Epsom throughout the morning for you.
And I know, because we have had many hundreds of them, that so many of you have questions for the Chief Medical Officer for England, Professor Chris Whitty. He's going to be here at 7:30 to answer as many of those as we can get through. So 7:30, we're collating them right now. So if you want any more, send them in.
Elsewhere this morning, US Democrats have laid out their plans to remove President Donald Trump from office before starting an impeachment process.
It comes after the president was accused of encouraging his supporters to storm the Capitol building in Washington last week. Our North America correspondent Peter Bowes has more.
President Trump has been widely blamed for inciting the violence behind last week's assault on the US Capitol, egging on his supporters, an insurrection at the heart of American democracy. Mr. Trump has 1.5 weeks of his term in office remaining, but Democrats and some senior members of his own party want him out now. The House of Representatives is to vote on a resolution urging the Vice President, Mike Pence, and the Cabinet to declare President Trump unfit for the job.
I like the 25th Amendment because it gets rid of him. He's out of office. But there is strong support in the Congress for impeaching the president a second time.
The impeachment process could start by the middle of the week, and there's little doubt it would be passed by the House, which is controlled by the Democrats. Whatever the timetable, the backlash against Donald Trump is intense. This from the former Republican governor of California.
President Trump sought to overturn the results of an election, and of a fair election. He sought a coup by misleading people with lies. President Trump is a failed leader. He will go down in history as the worst president ever. The good thing is that he soon will be as irrelevant as an old tweet.
With his job hanging in the balance, Mr. Trump is planning a trip to the border with Mexico on Tuesday. He'll visit a stretch of the wall that he promised to build in Texas on what may be the final official trip of his presidency. There are 9 long days ahead, and America is holding its breath. Peter Bowes, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Indonesian divers are trying to retrieve the black box recorders of a plane that crashed into the sea on Saturday.
The jet, which had 62 people on board, vanished from radar just minutes after takeoff. Search teams have already found parts of the aircraft. Mark LaBelle reports.
With painstaking precision, parts of flight SJ182 are brought back above ground. Laid out piece by piece at this port in Jakarta. As rescuers now think at least the positioning of the wreckage offers a crucial clue as to what may have happened. One Indonesian investigator speculating it ruptured when it hit the water, casting doubt on a mid-air explosion.
So far we are focused on narrow areas, but we may expand. We employed around 30 ships, so going forwards, 53 ships will be directly involved in the search and rescue operation.
The fate of the missing 62 people on board is now their family's burden, including 23-year-old crew member Mears. Watching for news about her is her brother, who, along with her father, still doesn't understand why she didn't make her regular call to her mother before flying.
We really appreciate everyone's doing their best. We can only pray that everything goes smoothly so that the plane and the people inside can be found.
The mystery remains. Why did the aircraft drop 3,000 metres in less than 60 seconds, just 4 minutes after takeoff? Hopes are now tied to what flight data and cockpit voice recordings the plane's black box might uncover, with its recovery said to be imminent.
There are 2 signals coming from the black boxes. These can be continuously monitored so we can mark their coordinates. Hopefully we can retrieve them soon and identify the cause of the crash.
Meanwhile, over 2,500 people are now working flat out to help find more of the debris and, rescuers admit, victims from the shallow waters in which they now sit. Mark Lobel, BBC News.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.